Hello. The whole country has just been traumatized to hear that two men have been murdered, not only murdered, but mutilated, and one at least was decapitated in Sligo. Both men, Michael Snee and Aidan Moffitt, two gay men, were decapitated and mutilated in an Irish town. Just a few months ago, beautiful young woman, Ashling Murphy, was killed as she was out running along the banks of the canal in Tullamore. Those three people are dead today because the politicians, which is Minister for Justice Helen McEntee, Taoiseach Micheál Martin, those politicians allowed that man from Slovakia and also the Iranian Kurd, the suspect who has been charged with murder in Sligo. If those two men had not been in the country, they would not have been possible for them to murder those three people. We've got to admit to ourselves that borders are necessary, not just for economic reasons, but also for security. If there is immigration into Ireland, we should know and we should be able to decide as a sovereign country the numbers of people who come here, and also the qualifications and the compatibility of the people who come here. If they come from another culture which refuses to accept our values, our democracy, our idea in human rights, for instance, let's talk Turkey. The suspect in Sligo is Iranian Kurd. He's a mosque-going Muslim. I looked up on Facebook and I saw that Joseph Palini's friends have the videos of a very radical Palestinian Muslim imam preaching away, very strident, calling for this kind of supremacy of Islam across the world, and of course the teachings of Muhammad, which advocate violence against all non-believers, and of course the beheading of homosexuals and non-believers. So we shouldn't be surprised when these Muslims take the Quran literally and they go around and they behead people who are homosexuals or non-Muslim believers. That is a consequence of allowing people like that into our country. So Ireland needs to make sure that we have controlled immigration and also vetted immigration. We have to know the types of people that are coming into our country, and we must control the numbers. A very disappointing aspect of what has gone on the last week or so is that the whole event has been used by the NGO establishment and RTE to push once more the trans agenda. Listen to comments about it on RTE. You hear two people, both talking about trans rights, and it had nothing to do. That may be the ideological hobby horse of RTE at the moment, but it has nothing to do with the murder of those two gay men in Sligo. Many gay men resent the imposition of this trans ideology. And many just want to get on with their lives in private like everybody else. But RTE want to use it as a baton or an occasion to beat this ideology over the heads of Irish people. Two homosexual men were killed by a Muslim immigrant into Ireland. That would not have taken place if that immigrant was a Muslim who took the Quran literally and wanted to carry out what it said, which is to kill, behead actually, homosexuals, and in some occasions to behead, also says to behead non-believers. Hopefully we'll be able to learn some lessons from what happened not only in Sligo this week with the beheading and mutilation of two men, but also the murder of Ashling Murphy and Tullamore, and of course 4 years ago in Dundalk a young Japanese student was murdered by someone who literally just walked into the country that week. Of course, he was a Muslim, but they used again the defense of Aidan mental illness. It's funny that in Germany and France, it's brought up quite a lot that people who profess belief in Islam and who do what it says on the tin, which is to be violent, they are then classed as mentally ill. The murder of people in Ireland by people who come here as migrants should concentrate our mind on the necessity of having a mature immigration policy that every other country in the world has, which is to have an immigration policy which is about controlled immigration and also vetted immigration. We need to know the numbers of people who are coming into Ireland and also the qualities of these people, that, and the first one is that they are willing to integrate into Irish society, accept our values, accept our way of life, and they will walk along and run along with the country as a whole and not try to impose their values, their culture on us. That they will not be a burden on the public purse, that they can support themselves by work, that they will not require a house, that they will not be a burden on the Irish taxpayer, and that they will not be a threat to the security of Irish men and women throughout the country. That is a very reasonable thing to ask, that if someone comes into Ireland claiming to be a refugee, that we must be assured before they come in here about our security. It's only to be countries like within the EU who seem to be tolerant of anybody and any number of people coming into the country. Sweden is a very, very good example of that. From what was a very safe society in the late 60s has become a very violent society within a number of decades. And I've been to Sweden and I've known many Swedish people, and they tell me that that country is really in trouble, and I don't want Ireland to go down that route, and we must do everything possible to ensure that it doesn't. And in that regard, I would ask you to join me, join other members of the Irish Freedom Party, join up, help us to leaflet, help us to canvass, help us to make the policies and the candidates of the party known throughout the country, that we can run more candidates in the national election, and we can seek office and we can seek to influence the political debate in Ireland. So, Gora Magatsa, my name is Hermann Kelly. I'm President of the Irish Freedom Party. Thank you.